Welcome to the Evolve Talent and HR Show. We are building the rooms where HR and talent leaders learn, connect, and evolve. I'm Anna Morgan, and this is the space where people first leaders come for courageous conversations. Whether you're leading from the C suite, emerging as a new voice, building community, or driving change within your organization, this show is for you. Every episode brings voices that are driving change in the HR and talent community. We're going to get into the strategies, conversations, and movements that matter. Because here's what we know. Every conversation matters. Every introduction, every shared experience, it creates momentum that extends far beyond the room. And that is the Evolve multiplier. When we collaborate over compete, when we connect with intention, the opportunities, the relationships, and the impact compound across our entire community. You've tuned into a podcast, but this is actually your connection to the entire Evolve ecosystem. New episodes come out weekly. Now it's your turn to evolve. Welcome. Hey everyone, I'm Anna Morgan, host of the Evolve Talent and HR Show, and I'm so excited to have one of my Atlanta community talent leaders with me today, the amazing Leena Chugh. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
Awesome. Thank you for having me here today.
Awesome. For those that don't know you, why don't you give us your 30-second to 1 minute Who is Leena introduction?
Okay, sure. So, hey everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm a recruiter. So, I've been in the TA space for almost 2 decades now. And I live in Atlanta. I work for Grady Health System. So, very excited to be here and share my journey with you all.
Amazing. Amazing. So you and I have like crossed paths over the years. And when we saw each other recently, we were pondering on how that connection was made. And in my brain, I was thinking it's one of our mutual friends, the mayor of TA, Mr. Brian Fink, when you were going through a transition potentially and you had a discovery call or a networking call, kind of like, who do you know? This is my situation. At the time, I was job search coaching and tried to make some introductions, and then our paths continued to keep crossing. But what I don't know is before Brian Fink introduced us, like, how did you get into recruiting? We all have oftentimes a story. I typically fall and fell into recruiting myself.
Yeah.
So, how did you get into this work?
Absolutely. I mean, it was half of fell into recruiting. So I graduated from my master's in human resources with a glint in my eye that I want this big corporate HR generalist job. And so that is what I was interviewing for and dreaming about. And that unfortunately did not happen as I graduated. So somebody referred me into a small consulting company, and that's how I fell into recruiting and absolutely fell in love with that at a later point in my life. But that was how my journey started. And it was funny, like this past Father's Day, I was thinking about it this morning. I literally thanked my dad, and I'm like, okay, he was the one who supported me because from that small consulting company, my next step was a bigger consulting company, but night US recruiting while I was in India. And I'm like, in a place like Delhi, India, it's not the safest place to be at. My mom was concerned, but he supported me. It's like, it's the next step for you. Go do big things. And so, yeah,
Yay!
that's
Thanks, Dad. Let's take a moment and celebrate all the dads out there.
that's how I fell into US recruiting, and that's where I still am.
That's amazing. Amazing. And so many of us, our lives have been disrupted through layoffs and just the craziness that's gone on in the world of work, specifically as it impacts recruiters. There's the sky is falling, AI is going to take all our jobs, and all the things. I feel like we're always looking for our next opportunity. So we never actually remove the job seeker title. But as you've gone through some of your transitions, for those that are out of work right now, what kind of tips would you give them that you may have learned in the last handful of years as you've navigated fractional, temporary, doing your own thing to where you are
I
now?
would say my top tips to a job seeker would be number one, you have to get out there and make connections. The job market has changed tremendously from me looking for a job 15 or 10 years ago to now. It has, again, it's a different ball game altogether. Just applying to jobs and waiting for responses does not work. It was heartbreaking for me also when I used to get rejections every day when I was laid off during COVID. So, networking and making connections, getting referrals in is the way. I mean, I look at my jobs where I have maybe 50 applicants in 3 days, and you do not have the bandwidth to look at all 50 applicants, perhaps, if it's an entry level job. So, I mean, again, somebody knowing somebody helps a lot. Somebody putting in a note into me, telling me they worked with this person helps a lot. So, that's top a tip. Other than that, I would say just make sure that your resumes are current and talk to what your skill set and talents are. Because often I will talk to people who will tell me a lot over the phone, but I then coach them to tell them your resume maybe needs to talk more about it because for next. Sure, I might get a chance to talk to my hiring leader over the phone or send them some notes, but the resume is the first piece of paper that we are looking at. So that definitely needs to be talking, telling us your story.
And also the through line that I'm hearing about kind of your lessons from the job search journey are finding the balance between the resume and the networking, right? Because people have to see you, experience you. That's what builds trust. And trust is the accelerator for someone to be motivated enough, just like we as recruiters, when we present a candidate, that we're putting our reputation on the line, right? And so it's also about earning the right to ask your community to say, "Hey, I'm in transition. I could use that referral or that introduction." I personally, as someone on the sidelines rooting for you, have been very inspired, one, by your resilience, and two, how you have evolved really in even how you show up on LinkedIn. And then there she was. I kept seeing Leena at different events and different socials, and then saw that you landed at where you are now. And for anyone listening that's in TA or HR that has kind of had enough of all the roller coaster up and downs, that through line that I see from kind of your evolution is the balance between application and human interaction, right?
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, that's definitely something I always recommend to people reaching out in their job search journey. You have to be resilient. You have to not give up because you are not getting positive response and you still have to put your best foot forward.
Yeah. And a job search, whether you're a recruiter or any other type of an employee, is an absolutely humbling experience. When we get the opportunity to step back in the role to be part of that qualifying and decision making process, it makes us look through that lens a little bit more compassionately, right? Where even though you have this insane high volume, I bet you're like I used to be, where on a Saturday evening, I might be opening up Workday and just going through and laying eyeballs on as many as I can. I remember what it was like to just have submitted and been trying to network and use my connections and all the things and just not hearing back and wondering what's wrong with me. In fact, nothing, right?
Exactly. Yes, absolutely. I mean, you have to just keep going. That is my mantra. And
It's like Dory, just keep swimming, just keep swimming.
just keep swimming. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So, are you comfortable talking about where you are now, kind of what that process looked like for you? I personally am a huge fan of Grady. You all joined the very first inaugural Evolve event, and then I've been able to bring you all into the fold for additional events, and so absolutely inspired to see an Atlanta employer like that really giving their employees the the bandwidth and opportunity to invest in themselves from a learning and community building standpoint.
Yes, I mean, our leadership in TA and HR at Grady is amazing in that they always encourage us to get out there and continue learning more and developing yourself. So I have had a great journey with being at Grady. And just from that job search perspective, I would love to share how when I landed the job at Grady, I was so nervous. I was very
I
grateful.
think I remember you mentioning this. For those of us that have come out of general office, administrative, corporate positions to then step into the world of healthcare, if you haven't had a ton of that experience, it can be massively intimidating, right?
Absolutely. It was definitely that feeling. And I felt like an imposter. And how am I going to do
No.
this? But I am so grateful for my leader who trusted me and showed me that I have the capacity and capability to do this. And here I am. I mean, coming up on 3 years, I've made 650 plus hires at Grady.
Wait, say that again. You broke up just a little bit. How many hires over almost 3 years?
Over 650 hires.
Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah, so
amazing. And you all do high volume, right?
yes, it has been a lot of high volume roles. However, it has been a lot of niche roles as well. And again, like anything from entry level to mid and professional levels that I've recruited on. So it has been a great
Okay,
journey and a great learning curve.
awesome. What over that period of time are you most proud of? Like, which position were you just like, heck yeah?
Well, I would say I've had a couple of epic positions that I have felt very satisfied and proud about filling those. And then, I mean, I would say every single position that I hire in does definitely give me a high. It is a huge accomplishment, even if you're hiring for nursing support and then they've stayed and I'm rehiring them to transfer them into a different position. And it's great because it is so difficult for people to find a good work life balance, find a good cultural fit. And so every time I'm able to retain is my proudest moment as well, because when I recruit, I do recruit to retain. I mean, again, it's easy for us to check boxes and fill these positions sometimes. However, it is not so easy for people to come and assimilate in our system.
Well, sure. And it's a unique system compared to other systems in the hospital landscape here in Atlanta. And just massive hat tip to you and your team because literally the people that you do hire actually save lives. And if it wasn't for that nurse that you hired for labor and delivery, that baby may not have been delivered as it was or wouldn't have had that kind of support. So it is super important. I used to joke and say, oh, we're just recruiters. We're like not saving lives. But if we aren't a part of hiring that pilot or hiring that doctor or hiring the garbage truck picker upper, I mean, these things wouldn't exist. But on the bigger scale, pilots, doctors, medical service folks, which are so, so important. So, really appreciate everything that you're doing there. Now, what other industries had you recruited in previously? Was this your first medical kind of stint?
It was my first healthcare stint. I a lot within the airline and retail industry, in technology, in finance. So I did get a chance to do a lot, dabble a lot in other industries prior to being in healthcare.
Okay, very good. Well, I feel like you had mentioned to me at one point community, specifically the Atlanta recruiter community and talent community was very much a accelerator in your job search and maybe part of helping diminish that imposter syndrome noise. It sounds almost as if like you were able to borrow the belief of our community that you can do this to get you to where you are now. But what other things would you talk about in regards to community and Atlanta recruiters as far as what that has done for your career and anything else?
Yeah, absolutely. So I love my TA community. It has been such a pleasure and blessing to be be part of this community. I got an opportunity to be at RecruitCon last year and met
Yeah.
you, met Brian, Larry, and it's always great to see familiar faces and then meet new people. I was obviously at Evolve this January, and then I was at Recruiting Innovation Summit with ERE recently as well. Again, it is just lovely to be in that community.
It's almost like sometimes once you make a local group, then we tap you on the shoulder and be like, "Have you heard of Wreckfest? Like, you
Right?
need to come to that."
Yes.
And that's where one of your teammates, April, and I were chatting, and your one of the managers, Diane, came to the first Evolve event, and then it's just kind of expanded from there. But that's the power of one, putting yourself out there, and then two, asking people like, what rooms should I be in, right?
Exactly.
Because if we don't ask and if we aren't present, sorry, like we've all experienced it, people aren't going to remember. I always joke that we never leave high school. It follows us from homeroom to the boardroom. And it's like, sadly, if kind of you're not out in community at the cafeteria lunch table, people might just think you're off at virtual class. So I think it is important. And again, the fact that your organization lets you invest in these type of events is important for people that are like, what is this conference scene? How do I learn? Why do I want to go? What's in it for me? Can you speak a little bit more to that? And then I would love to know how you would advise people to go to their boss and say, yeah, thanks for the LinkedIn learning training. Thanks for the other stuff on the learning platform. But here are the top 5 conferences that I want to go to. And I need $10,000 to be invested in me for professional development.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love going to these conferences and events because there is so much to learn. I mean, you meet
Oh,
like minded people, you get to hear these amazing ideas that people are actually implementing in their teams and organizations. So there are so many transferable skills also that you gain, not just connections and connections too. I mean, I reached out to somebody I saw in the same session as I in the recent summit, and I tapped on his shoulder and I asked how they are doing this in their
yeah.
department. And then in terms of learning, I mean, again, that's what you bring back to the table. That's what you sell to your bosses. And I've said this to my boss, like, I'm going to this event and I am going to come back and tell our team all about what I learned. We can have a workshop or we can have a session in our team
Mhm.
meeting where I basically talk about my takeaways. So there is a lot to give and take away if you make the effort to get out there, talk about yourself.
Yeah, so, like,
Yes.
step 1 is prioritize yourself,
Mhm.
right? Step 2 is do the research, and with AI now, it's pretty easy. Step 3, talk to your peers. "Hey, if I could go to 3 conferences as a talent leader, where should I be this year?" And then 4, put the business case together, right? And don't stop asking until you get it, because I want to scream it louder to the executives at the top that investing in your employees in this way is such a great loyalty play and engagement play, especially if you bring your team, right? I ran into the Delta team at Wreckfest, and one of the employees was a past coworker, which again, if you're not out and about, you're not going to make those connections. And then once you get the approval to go, then it becomes strategy time, right? Looking at the agenda. When you're looking at conferences, do you want to see the agenda? Is it because it's a newer conference or that you know these folks, so you go to that particular one? Or is there any rhyme or reason that you hand select the ones that you do go to?
Yeah, absolutely. So there could be a lot of factors. The agenda is very important to me. If it's not a new conference, then the reputation is important as well. I might have already heard about RecFest for so many years that I really want to be here. And now my own experience, like I came to Evolve. My favorite sessions were absolutely not what I expected to be at or, be doing anything with. So we talked about gratefulness and the power of pause. I mean, that was amazing. And again, such a practical note right there. Like, please end your meeting or call at 10:55 so you have breathing space to get mentally prepared for your 11 o'clock. Are we doing that? No, I think majority of us are not doing that. But it was such a important takeaway. And it's like, boom, why did I not think about this before? So again, I mean, past experiences, referrals on what's going on out there. Of course, I mean, it's always great to see your previous connections. That gives
Yeah.
you a comfort level, as in I'm gonna be able to stand and sit with somebody and not just meet like 200 new people.
Yeah, if you are an introvert and finding that conference BFF, I am all about that because you and I are relatively outgoing, but I would say many
Mhm.
recruiters, especially sourcers, are a little more awkward when they're out and about. So, and I think that's also for those listening when you're at conferences and if you feel like a pro and you've been to a couple like we have, take a moment and look around the room and notice and look for someone that might need a hand, right? And that could be like just asking them a curious question and then really just watch the miracles happen. Because I always say we're only one conversation away from changing someone's life or our life being changed. So why not and really be that conference BFF to the person that you were at your first conference, right?
Absolutely. I would not be where I am without my community.
And your community, like, has passed on made podcast appearance recommendations, just all kinds of stuff, right?
Absolutely. And you said before, if somebody did not see a spark in you, maybe you would not even be here. Like somebody came up and said to me, "You're so good," or "You can do this." And that is something you chew on and you make that your goal and ambition and you start working towards it. That happens to me a lot. And I think that is very important where you overcome your fears, you talk to somebody about maybe this is what I want to do, and then they just help you out. I mean, there are a lot of good people out there. So we have to trust people, we have to trust the system and go with it. And it definitely pays.
Discernment and networking and trust can be very difficult, especially in today's world where we feel like we're getting served, or at least I'll speak for myself, so much fake
Mhm.
stuff and everything is so loud and it's kind of turning down that noise. And you're always gonna bump into that bad apple here and there, but it's really how we react to it, right? And then take that lesson and build from it because we're such a webbed community. The seven connections of Kevin Bacon, we can always pretty much track it here in Atlanta. So yeah, it's been just such a privilege to watch you evolve in your career. And we all have a story. We all have a book in us, I believe. And I know you and I have teased around at one point passing you the microphone, maybe bringing you into the Evolve ecosystem to share more of your brilliance and expertise and story. Is that something you're still kind of noodling on for your future evolution, if you
Yeah,
will?
absolutely. I mean, I'm a big believer in always keep learning and always keep growing. I do like to experiment a lot too. So maybe in the future as we keep going.
Yeah, yeah. And we were able to see each other recently this past Sunday. I hosted the Outlier Atlanta executive table, which in my bold energy, I'm like, oh, I'm going to have an Outlier event and then I'm going to bring in all my talent and HR
Mhm.
friends. But it was a great excuse to break in the new house and have about what 35, 40 people for dinner. And it was a little unconventional, right? Like most businessmen and women aren't opening their home. But for you, like what keeps you coming back or saying yes to events like this nowadays?
Say again that sense of community. I mean, I bumped into somebody brand new.
It said your recording stopped. Lena was saying she keeps coming back to the Evolve executive tables and community events because we're besties. But yeah, I had Lena and a bunch of other talent and HR
Okay,
friends.
I
I'm
am
just talking
here.
to myself, Lena. So, all right. I am always learning with technology and fingers crossed. Worst case, if something doesn't happen, it's an excuse for
Absolutely.
you to come back over and visit. So, we were saying, what makes you say yes to community local events?
I know. Again, it's just getting out of your comfort zone, to be honest. I mean, of course, I knew I know you. Of course, I knew I might bump into one or two people I know. But I'm
And you
like,
knew a
okay,
lot.
it's Sunday evening. Do I want to do this? And then It's the invitation that matters a lot to Anna. To be very honest, I get an invite and I'm like, oh, okay, so somebody thought about me. I mean, there's a reason, right? There's a reason everything happens. So I said, okay, heck yeah, I'm going to make it, even if I make it for an hour. And then I took it to somebody who works at an organization where a very close friend works. And then I just went up and introduced myself. And next thing I know, like we're just talking about other common things in our career and in our life. And that was where we hit it off because she and I were talking about the fact that we come to these places because we need to talk to people and meet with people with the same wavelength. We were talking about the BS happening in our lives.
Yeah. Well, and there's only so many hours in the day, right? And I've got therapy, I've got my spouse, I've got my teen, but I need friends who do what we do that are managing the spouse and the kid and the life on life's terms to be like, I don't think he's ever going to quite understand what I do. And most people that I talk to are lonely. One woman that was there mentioned working full time, corporate, high volume positions, video interviewing, and she's the loneliest that she's ever been. And to your point, when I sent her a text and she was like, oh my gosh, you have no idea how much I need this. And selfishly, like I get ignited and I find my creativity and just spark when I'm able to gather people. So it's you all are doing for me just as much as it may seem I'm doing for you. And then I really truly believe in just trusting those nudges, right? Of who comes top to mind and making those introductions and then not being afraid to go out of the typical profile because I really feel like innovation and creativity comes when we get out of that vacuum. So for me, like I go to other industry events so that I can kind of see what conferences in engineering look like, or something like Running Man, which was a business running event slash festival. But no, I love to hear that. And it just brought me so much joy to be able to have a space that I can host and create safe places for meaningful conversations like that, that one, just make us feel seen, heard, and understood. And then if you have a next step, whether that's a coffee date or just a kindred spirit to check in with and keep in touch with, or be the commenter on their content to show them that you're thinking of them, you just never know where those conversations will convert to.
Absolutely. Yes. I think putting a face to a name is very important. I mean, I have over 3,000 connections on LinkedIn. How many people do I know in
Yeah.
real life? Nobody
Right.
knows. Yeah. So, I mean,
Exactly.
sometimes it's just about putting in that effort. So now I know these 10 people who I have been talking to
Yeah.
online for 10 years.
Yeah. So for the recruiter or HR person that's like, I'm too busy. I got 45 recs and I've got all the fires to put out. I ain't got time for community and house barbecue networking cookouts. What would you say to them?
It is definitely uncomfortable to take the first step. The first time you do it, God only help you. But you get used to it. You get accustomed to the discomfort and then you find some joy in what you did put in the effort for. So after I probably met like two people really, like I introduced myself or somebody came and introduced them to me at
Mhm.
your event, right? Like but I truly met maybe two people, and that's good enough for me. Like if I stayed an hour,
Well, yeah. I
make a
mean,
real
two
connection,
people in 1 hour.
right?
Yeah.
Saying like it does not matter. So even if you take
Quality over quantity.
there you go. Exactly. That is my mantra. So I follow that. And that's what my recommendation to others would be. Just get out there, meet two people in 2 months, and that's fine. Just start it off.
Yeah, and you don't have to be the person that arrives early and stays till the end.
Mhm.
And I'm always like late, but in earnest a lot of the times. Making that effort again to show up and then paying attention to the people that come into your sphere of influence, whether it's something like this or conference events and whatever, but it's also the follow up. right? For anyone listening, the key to becoming a master connector and getting better at developing this skill is making sure that you have some touch points. And
Mhm.
it's more natural for me as an origin story salesperson, right? Having grown up in hospitality and learning basic sales skills, I never know if that person's going to be a future sponsor or a future speaker or a future attendee. And so those wheels are always kind of connecting. And so I always try to bring them into kind of my ecosystem and the ways that I outreach and keep in touch. And I wish I had a structured formula for that. But again, for me, it goes back to just kind of my intuitive nudges and kind of trusting those. And then over time, that skill gets sharper and it becomes easier to say yes. And once you attend one or two type of local events, then you'll start getting invited to more. And that's kind of that ripple effect or evolve effect, if you will, of being in community with great people, right?
Absolutely. It does become easier. I agree with that.
I heard someone say it to me a couple months ago, and he said, "Anna, I'm really proud of you." And I was like, "Oh, that makes me feel very strange." But we're peers, but I want to say to you that I am just so proud of you and seeing how you've grown in the last 5 years. And it's just a privilege to know you, and excited to see how you continue to amplify your passion around recruiting and a candidate experience and being a conference BFF to other people. So, in the future for you, what does the rest of the summer look like? And we'll end on where are you headed next in regards to events?
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you, first of all. I really appreciate our connection and friendship here. I mean, from being an online connection to being here, that means a lot to me. So, love this journey. For me, I would say I am definitely still evolving, want to be a better person and a better recruiter. Like, I go to an
Okay.
event, hear about things people are doing or talking about, and I'm like, oh, okay, I am still work in progress. I want to nab on this and grab on this and run with it. So there's still a lot to do that I am very excited about. And that's it. Like you need to have that passion to keep going on, which I am very blessed to have. So, I mean, for me, just keep going, making sure that I am doing things in the right earnest for myself and for my candidates and for my leaders and hiring leaders and make it a
Uh,
great experience for everybody I get in touch with.
yeah.
Next event.
I bet your hiring teams love working with you. I think you would be a great team member in helping them attract and retain the right talent. So
Thank you.
I'm going to be announcing the Evolve IRL dates here very soon. So it'll be likely spring of 27, maybe a little early, but I know you'll be
Yeah.
there. We're also going to be putting together an executive table for August. So keep your ears out for that.
Okay.
And for those that are listening that say, oh my gosh, I totally hear Leena and have been where she is and or I want to be Leena, where would you like them to find you?
So LinkedIn is my community. That's where I hang out best. I would say find me on LinkedIn. If there's anything I can
Okay.
do to help you, I am here.
Awesome. Awesome. And last but not least, we'll do kind of rapid fire. Your event or conference pet peeves. Go.
Okay. I wasn't prepared for this.
I know. I
uh,
forgot to put that in the email. I mean, you've been to enough events. Like, what drives you nuts of just where you're like, what's happening here?
well, breakout sessions when I want to be at four places at a time. So
Okay.
that drives
Wait,
me
wait, wait,
nuts
wait, wait.
because there's too much to pick from. And I always think,
Wait, hold on 1 second. So, to that point, when I was analyzing what went well at Evolve 26 and what I could do better, I'm really sorry, HR practitioners that needed recert credits because I pretty much scheduled all the HR sessions at the same time.
uh,
So if there was an HR practitioner coming, they wanted to hear Jess Miller's, they couldn't go to Jackie Johnston's or Lee Cage's or whatever. So that was a very humble lesson that I learned this year, but also part of the solution is now getting it into a virtual evergreen product. So then people can watch it on their terms. So sorry. Back to you, pet peeves.
Yes. So multiple breakout sessions at the same time.
that you want to be in.
Yeah, so it's too much competition there when every agenda and every speaker looks too good to miss. In there,
That's a good problem.
yes.
Hosting events is expensive,
Mhm.
right? And in our space, our sponsors are typically the biggest chunk of helping us fund the conference, right? And so the challenge on the pricing of the ticket, and historically Evolve has been super reasonable. However, with the notoriety and kind of leveling up and evolving that we have been doing, I'm having some big feelings around kind of playing at that more $1,000 plus range because of what you just said. And it breaks my heart, but it just fires me up even more to be having these conversations in the rooms with the people that make these decisions, because that's not enough. It is not enough to give you the time and not the resources to be able to attend. And I think that's a really big thing that many people struggle with and don't know how to navigate.
Mhm.
And I want to be more part of the solution for that because it's important. And as I said, it's a loyalty, team engagement in this market. Like I sent my newsletter out about job hugging. People are sticking around for a while, but one, at what cost, and really what matters to them. And listen to your employees, and employees, do your research and keep advocating weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever you have to do, because eventually, at least that's my way.
Yeah, no, which is great to hear.
If I just
Yeah.
in your face enough and be like, I need this, and this is why you want to invest in it because this is the result you're going to get, and then make it happen.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I do agree with you, Anna. I mean, it does, in the moment, at least feel like I come out with being a better person and a better
mm,
professional. I mean, I usually get to hear and meet so many people who are genuinely invested in candidate experience or helping their organizations flourish. And that is so inspirational. And that is
yeah.
something that you would bring back.
But corporations should pay for it, whether it's inspiration or education. I mean, in my mind, like, inspiration is a catalyst and an accelerator for that knowledge sticking. I mean, how many webinars have you been in where it's like blah, 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 and it's like in one ear and out the other? And then when you're inspired, when you're connected, when you feel seen, heard, and understood, then you come back and it's like, okay, this is why it really hit me. And here's what we learned. And this is the framework that we went through. And we all learn differently too. That has been another big aha for me as I've been facilitating these spaces. Is part of the reason I get so jazzed about it is because I was a non-traditional learner. I was not a good student. I learned by doing, putting things together or going step by step or thinking out loud with each other. And so where a lot of these events are very cookie cutter and you can kind of expect the same thing, I feel like I've been okay, a little innovative in trying some different things. I'm not going to do 4 breakout sessions at the same time again, but there's so much opportunity.
There is, yes.
But corporations need to pay.
I saw that at Evolve. I mean, I saw so many creative things that you did, and it was very
Thank
admirable
you.
and very enjoyable as well because it's just
Mm.
like work and play at the same time. So that makes it fun.
I know. And then you have to be careful because it can't be too much play, or then the corporations really won't pay for it, which is my buddy Jamie Leonard from Wreckfest and I were talking about how he got started and where he is today. And it's folks like that that I look up to in the space, in addition to the Recruiting Innovation Summit folks, TEA Week, Transform, Unleash, so many.
There are
So,
so many.
well, you are such a bright light. Thank you for the time today. And I'm looking forward to watching and cheering along as you continue to evolve in your career, and really just grateful to have you in this community and on the show today.
Thank you so much, Anna. It's been such a pleasure talking to you and being here. So thank you for having me.
Awesome. Awesome. Keep shining bright. We'll talk soon.
Okay, good.
Thanks for joining the Evolve Talent and HR show. If the conversation landed, share it, tell a leader, pass it forward. That is the multiplier in action. one connection at a time, building momentum across our community. And that is what Evolve is. We build the rooms where connection compounds into impact. So don't sleep on the in person experiences, the IRL conferences, the executive tables, the fringe events, our community. Show up. That's where the multiplier multiplies. If you know, you know. Head over to evolve-conference.com to see what's evolving and how to stay connected. We'll see you next time.